G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. We'll have all the show notes and any resources mentioned in the cast on our website. Started a small jewellery business in Melbourne in 2009, aged 19. To increase the cart value, she added a nail polish, which soon tripled revenue. So she dropped the jewellery to focus on starting a leading ethical beauty brand. Now with lipstick added to the range in warehouses in Melbourne, Wanaka, New Zealand and the Netherlands, they also sell through distributors in Germany and Malaysia. 4 years ago, sales were 10% online, 90% wholesale, which has been flipped to 89% online. Tripled revenue in the last 3 years and in 2020 are growing 3 to 5% a week. Started with 1 FTE, peaked at 9 in 2017 and now down at 2.5. One tells her Businesswoman of the Year in Australia. This went to her head and she added expensive overheads of an office and more team members before meditation woke her up. Had great Facebook ad success, currently investing $50,000 a month and shares a key contact to use at a Facebook agency. Anna describes a recession phenomena called the lipstick effect. Funding has been from profits, though recently walked away from a $500,000 investment, turning it into a short-term loan instead. Felt she had succeeded when, this year, cash flow improved. Hardest thing about growing a small business is staff. What Anna would tell herself on day one of starting out is, just do it. If I knew what I know now, I would never have done it. In episode 27, Matt talks about growing his online booking site First Table from a handful to 1,400 restaurants in 60 cities across 8 countries in 5 years. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Anna Ross from Kester Black. Thanks for your time this morning, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. That's an easy one. Peter, our podcast editor, got in touch and thank you for agreeing to come on.
I love a really good talk, and especially about business, because it's quite a big interest of mine. So it's great.
So we could probably talk for a couple of hours here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell the audience a bit about your business, where it's located, what it does, and how it makes money.
So Kester Black is currently an Australian business, but we have just moved back to New Zealand. So we're located in Wanaka, New Zealand.
Beautiful part of the world. Mm.
It is very beautiful. Yesterday we spent all day up at the snow with 30 centimetres of fresh powder.
Oh my goodness. Mm.
That was the plan, right? To ski in the morning and then work in the afternoons and go hiking and running during summer.
Yeah.
So we are in the middle of an international move, which is a nightmare. But we are a leading ethical beauty brand. Mm-hmm. So we make mainly nail polish and lipstick, and we sell that globally. And we have warehouses in Melbourne, in Wanaka in New Zealand, and also in the Netherlands.
Great.
Yeah.
And what the main sales channels? Is it just online, or you sell through distributors as well?
About 4 years ago, we used to be mainly wholesale. So we were about 10% e-commerce, 90% wholesale.
Yeah.
And then we also have bought on distributors, international distributors. So for each key export market that we go into, we have an international distributor there. Our biggest ones at the moment are Malaysia, because our products are actually halal, so that's a huge market for us.
Great.
And Germany. And then the third sales channel for us is e-commerce, of course. Mm-hmm. We've just started to take it very seriously in the last couple of years, and it was perfect timing because all of the edits that we made to our business and to really get ready for e-commerce and to be able to scale just happened or fell into place in about February this year.
Just before COVID hit.
So it was just before COVID hit. So we've actually done really well through that period because we spent 2 or 3 years sort of working towards making sure that we could scale online.
Yep. Great. And you mentioned that there's a phenomena when crises like COVID hits that the shopping habits change in your sector?
Yeah, so apart from the fact that everybody's been in lockdown and shopping online, there's another economic trend called the lipstick effect. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that during times of recession, people don't buy handbags and shoes anymore. They buy luxury small good items, and generally sales of lipstick and nail polish skyrocket during an economic recession. So this year is a huge test for our business to see if that's actually true, but so far so good for us.
Great. Well done. And just to be clear, so the wholesale is you warehousing it yourself and shipping it to retailers that then put it on their shelves, yeah?
Yes. Yep. That's it.
And so you don't have a distributor in Australia, you do that part yourself, you wholesale too? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but across the world, roughly how many stores would you be in, from your wholesale stores plus what your distributors are selling to?
I think we have about 300 stores in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland.
Yep.
And then we only have a handful of stores. So we've actually changed our model where we used to get as many wholesale customers as possible. And in Australia, we had about 500 customers at our biggest point, and that was around 2017.
Yep.
And we redid our strategy earlier this year. And what we want to do now is focus almost entirely on e-commerce with a key retail partner in each territory. So Germany and Malaysia are the exceptions because of our distributor relationships there.
Yep.
Distributors can be a real nightmare because we had a distributor in Australia and they just sold it to everyone and anyone, and it ruined our brand positioning.
Got it.
So we cancelled that arrangement and we decided not to do it unless we found amazing distributors. The one that we're speaking to at the moment is Russia because we don't know anything about Russia. We couldn't access Russia if we tried.
No.
So it might make sense to do it there. But in terms of key retail markets, like in the UK, we have Liberty's London. And so they are a huge brand positioning play for us. They don't do huge volume, but it's really ties into that brand story. And then in Paris, we've just signed up with Dover Street Market. So they're kind of a big brand positioning play for us there as well. And then in Australia, we would like to go with a large key retailer like Mecca, say, is the perfect partnership for us in Australia and New Zealand. And then in the US, we would like to be on Goop and Ulta and Net-a-Porter, for example, or Net-a-Porter is the UK. So
Goop's Goop's the Gwyneth Paltrow brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So the way that we used to do wholesale was just get as much stock out on the shelves as possible. And the way that we do it now is completely different.
More targeted.
Really, really targeted and all about the brand because it's so important for us to make sure that we get that brand positioning sale strategy right.
Yeah.
Because if we want to sell, if we want to get an investment and sell later, we're selling a brand. We're not selling, profitability or revenue, because it's sort of like we look at it two ways. E-commerce is generally like 1 to 2 times revenue price point, say, but beauty brands, they sell for like between 10 and 20 times.
Wow.
Their
sales, not
like
10 to 20 times their sales, not their profit, sales.
It sort of depends. It's so variable, but I've done a huge competitor analysis recently, and I was amazed that there are businesses turning over, say, $10 million that were selling for like $300 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's really like big companies like Estee Lauder and L'Oreal want to buy companies like us because we're small, we innovate, and we build great brands, and they can't do that. So what happens is with great brands that have like reasonable market share, great followings, they sell for quite a lot of money to those big overarching companies. And we have been really careful from the start to make sure that we own all of our IP. So a lot of people that I speak to in business, they haven't got IP deeds, they haven't sorted out their trademarks, all those sorts of things, but actually the brand is what we will be selling. So all copyright deeds and trademarks are kind of the main things that we are selling, and the goodwill.
That's great. Sounds like you've really set things up properly right from the outset, especially legally.
Not from the outset, but soon to follow. I really value spending lots of money on legal now. Not that we spend heaps of money on it, but every time we do a contract now, I get it checked by my lawyer. We used to try and not do that, and we've got caught out a few times. So I think that it's really money well spent early on.
Yeah, totally agree. So how did Kester Black start out?
I was at uni and I studied fashion at Otago University in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my mum for $30,000 to start a business, a fashion label.
Yeah.
And she said, no, you need to go overseas and get some experience. So I slept on it the night and I thought, right, she's right. So I looked up flights and I found that flights to Melbourne from Dunedin were cheaper than the flights to Wellington.
Wow.
So I moved to Melbourne. And then when I got to Melbourne, I was working in retail and I couldn't get my foot in the door with fashion. So I wanted to keep my portfolio ticking over, because if you go for any creative design position, you usually have to show a portfolio. And I started making jewellery. So I went into a store in town and asked how to cast sterling silver. And my jewellery label sort of started from there, and that was called Kester Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just sort of kept morphing. So how we got into nail polish from there was I was working with sterling silver, but very bored of working with just one colour.
Yep.
And I heard that you could colour sterling silver with enamel paint. And then I thought, I'm pretty sure nail polish is enamel. So I bought a nail polish from Maya or David Jones, painted it on one of my rings. It was a complete disaster. But I thought, this is a really interesting product to sell alongside jewellery.
Yeah.
So I thought, while we were selling a $200 ring online, it would be cool if we could include an upsell. Mm-hmm. And the nail polish was to be the upsell. So just to increase the cart by $20.
Yep.
So I spent a year doing that. And when we launched in August 2012, I launched with 6 nail polish colours. And within that 3 months, and the first 3 months of launching 6 colours, we tripled our business revenue.
Wow.
So I just fell into it. It wasn't a conscious decision. And I'm lucky because we have an affordable item that is a consumable.
Yep. Good.
That is also
revenue.
considered luxury.
Yep.
So I think that is like the key driver to making a really profitable e-commerce business. The only thing I didn't think of was all of our products now, apart from lipstick, are dangerous goods. So freight and logistics is the worst.
No, of course.
I spent about 4 years trying to work out how to actually ship it internationally.
Yeah, yeah. So, but what year that was the year you pivoted or started the nail polish? What year did you actually start with the jewellery?
In 2009, when I first moved to Australia.
Yep. Right. And how old were you then when you started out?
Ooh, maybe about 19.
Yep.
So 32 now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
really bad with maths.
That's all right. Well, that's the next question. There's some numbers. Do you have any key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yeah, I do. So there's a few here. So let's start with like March for the last year. So this is percentage increase for 2020 on last year. In March, it was 193% increase.
Yep.
And then, of course, March was sort of the COVID month. And then April, we had a pretty good month at 613% increase on last year. Yep. And then May, we did 915% increase on last year.
Yep.
So we are growing exponentially this year, which is quite exciting for us.
Yep.
Back in 2017, it's quite interesting because we don't grow in the standard way that every other business seems to grow. So in 2017, we had 9 employees. Mm-hmm. And this year, like today, we have 2 full-time employees and 1 part-timer.
Right. Yep.
So I got really excited in 2016, 2017 about growth and possible growth of my business. So before then, it was just a bit of a side hobby, but we were making shitloads of money and were really profitable. And then I actually won the Australian Businesswoman of the Year through the Telstra Business
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think it was one of the best and worst things that has ever happened to me.
Yep. Because
the worst thing that happened was I got a big head about it, about business, not about the award.
Yep.
And just because somebody else says that you're really good at business doesn't actually mean it.
Well, going from 9 FTE down to 3 and revenue going the other way, massively up, I think that's pretty good evidence.
Yeah. So what happened with those 9 employees was I started listening to young gun accountants who were saying, oh my God, your growth, you're going to be selling for $60 million in 3 years.
Yep.
And I was so like arrogant enough to believe them. And so I actually just started handing away parts of my business that I actually did really well myself before. You know, like I was great at the finance and I saved our money every month for our GST and all those sorts of things. So we never got into debt.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, oh, well, the only way to grow business is to get into lots of debt and like start spending that money every month so that you can reinvest it into different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't work like that. So I got all these staff and we spent all this money and we became not profitable. We did do our biggest year of revenue, but we were pushing for revenue and we weren't thinking about profit.
Yep. Common
So
mistake.
yeah, and I got all excited and then I thought I would join EO.
Yep.
So and I wanted to feel really like the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting. I started doing meditation, and whilst going through like a 3-week silent meditation retreat, I realized that they were just ideas and I was trying to buy into this idea of being an entrepreneur.
Yep.
But actually, I'm not really an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner. And I was much better at doing the small business thing when I wasn't getting lots of very expensive advice from big corporates.
Yes.
So we sort of flipped the business, and I even got confused about, I started the business out to be a bit of a lifestyle business so that we could go skiing in the mornings and take time off for yoga and meditation and all those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really excited about the shiny office and lots of staff. So then I locked us into Melbourne, spent a whole lot of money on double expenses because we had a home office and then we had an actual office. So we were paying double power, double rent, everything. We had 2 fridges then. And then I locked us into Melbourne. Yeah. And I thought, it was probably about a year and a half ago now, I thought, what am I doing? Like, I don't want any of these things. So I actually came back to like ground zero and decided what I actually wanted the business to look like, which was the initial thing before I won that award, which was work from anywhere, make it a bit of a lifestyle business, and like cut costs and be really profitable.
Yeah.
Cut costs by like not having heaps of stuff that aren't contributing to like profitable revenue.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Just back on the percentage growth before COVID, the real impact of that, like even just from 2017, like a percentage growth, over in 2018 over 17 and 19 over 18. Any idea on kind of? I know the business was changing. Your sales channels mix was changing, but
so like on e-commerce, for example, in March 2019, we did 10% of our revenue was with e-commerce, and now it's 89%.
Wow! Yeah, right.
But I think that we might have tripled our revenue in the last 3 years, but we were also not very focused on what we were supposed to be doing.
Yep.
So we have done a really solid forecast, and we're kind of growing at about 3 to 5% a week at the moment.
Oh wow, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's like, let's hope that we can maintain that. But I don't think that there are any reasons why we can't, because before then we hadn't actually sorted out our marketing strategy.
Yep.
We didn't have a brand positioning statement. We didn't have a marketing strategy. We were just marketing for the sake of marketing.
Yep.
And now we have a really great paid spend campaign, and we've actually got all those sorts of things sorted. So as long as we don't keep having out of stock issues, because a lot of our product is made in France and Italy. Yeah. And because Italy was so affected by COVID, they were manufacturing all of our glass packaging. So it's been like an ongoing delay, which is very frustrating. But now we're kind of stocking up. Like we might do an order for $100,000 on just 4 products just to give us enough for a year, which is not a great idea for tying up cash.
But it's better than to do that to prevent stock outs if there is a logistics hiccup, definitely.
Yeah, lots of logistics issues now with COVID, and freight is so expensive. So we used to be paying 6 cents per unit for freight, and now we're paying about €1.
What? Oh my God. Is that because you're air freighting it now?
We're only air freighting the stuff that we have to, and then even sea freight is outrageously expensive as well. And it's like maybe not the freight, because we got 3 pallets sea freighted to us the other day, and it was about 200 to 300 euros for the freight, but the entire lot ended up costing 5,000 euros, and that was all like port charges, all those sorts of things that are the add-on.
That's all gone up. And so do you warehouse this yourself, or use a 3PL, like a third-party logistics company, to warehouse and ship for you the orders?
3PLs, so such a minefield. We run the New Zealand warehouse ourselves. We did have a really great 3PL here called Mail Shop in Auckland, and we loved them. They were really a professional get-up. But they did, the fee structure that they had was a little bit different, where they did it weekly fees or monthly fees, and we didn't have enough volume to make it profitable. So we ended up taking it back to Melbourne and shipping with DHL from Melbourne to New Zealand for all of our New Zealand orders, which, just to give you an idea on cost, is around $37 for one nail polish, which costs $20.
Oh my God.
And if it's to rural delivery, it can get up to about $70 for one $20 nail polish. This is the complexities of dangerous goods as well. But we just got a 3PL in Melbourne called Eastall Logistics, and they are the best 3PL I've ever worked with.
Right.
We've had 2 disasters. One was with Regency, where they have a really big operation in Sydney, but I didn't realise that they didn't have a big operation in Melbourne, and I so stupidly gave it to somebody else to look after, to get them all set up, because I didn't know anything about 3PL.
Yep.
And we never went out to visit their site, and if we had realised they're not a 3PL at all.
There's someone's house, was it?
It wasn't a house, but it was like another media business. They make CDs and things like that.
Okay. Yep, got it.
And there was one of the biggest issues that we had was we have nail polish 1 unit, and then pack size 4 units. So if you do a pick and pack, you pick one item, whether you're picking a pack or a unit, and our packs is very small because 4 nail polishes is not big. But we were getting charged per single unit. So if we were sending 400 units, we were getting charged for 400 picks, but it was actually only 100 picks.
Got it.
So we were getting charged like 4 times the amount that we should have. And then when I raised it, the entire finance team had resigned or been let go, and they had a new finance team, and we couldn't work it out. So that was our first big mistake in 3PL. And then the second one was fine. We just used a broker, and the broker was a nightmare. The 3PL itself was fine, but they didn't do premium products. So they did more like grab it from a box and chuck it in a bag. And we wanted ours gift wrap, for example. So it's been a real nightmare trying to find a 3PL, and Eastall Logistics has blown us out of the water. They are such a professional get out, and they're actually backed by Kogan.
Right.
So they do a lot of those big businesses. They do all of the Kogan orders, things like that. So we love them.
Yep. Great. And
in the Netherlands, we also have another 3PL. The issues with 3PLs in Europe is that with Brexit happening, you sort of got to keep them on mainland Europe, because nobody really knows what's happening with the UK. So we were looking at a UK 3PL, but we thought it would be safest to stay in mainland Europe, because there'll be taxes and duties and things charged on everything coming from the UK into Europe.
Yep. Got it. And have you thought about using, or have you looked into using FBA, fulfilled by Amazon?
Yeah, we have, and the complexities around that with their packaging. There's just some complexities with putting them into boxes that are way too big and all those sorts of things. So to be honest, we just parked that and haven't looked at it again anytime recently.
Yep, great. No worries. When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Probably this year. So we had a really hard year, or a hard couple of years, the last 2 years, where it used to be very easy to pay all of our bills. And then we really had to forecast everything, and it was just such a chore to pay bills. And this year we've just, every time we get bills in, we can just pay them.
Yep.
So it proves our profitability increase, and it's kept me asleep at night knowing that we're not really having to prioritize suppliers and things for payment. We can just pay everybody.
That's great, because now you get to focus on the fun and where the real value adding is, which is obviously marketing and sales. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So it's 8 years now since you brought the lipsticks on, that you've really got everything set up, better down, and now you're into the fun chapter.
Yeah, and the lipsticks has been a really interesting one, because we launched those last October and we only had 6 lipstick colours. And my idea around that was we need to diversify. We can't just be a nail, because nail comes on like a 7-year trend and it goes up and it goes down. So more products made sense. What products were next? Well, lip and nail makes sense to customers. So it's not going to be a random like mascara that's actually not a colour, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody that was around me, business advising at that time, said, don't do it. And
I had death by brand extension is what they were saying.
Yeah. And I just had a good feeling. So I went against what everybody told me, which is what I'm very good at these days. And I think that's what's kept us going. And we launched the lipsticks. And now of those, they were launched and they went well, and then they were going okay. And now this month, and for the last couple of months, lipstick sales are outselling our top performing nail products.
Oh, well done. That's fantastic. Yeah.
So 3 of our lipstick colours of the 6 are our 3 top selling products now consistently.
Oh, that's great. Well done.
Thanks. Fantastic. And it just means it's not a headache, because what I would really like to do is drop the nail category from 60 down to about 20 maybe, or 40, and increase the lipsticks to 60, and bring in other lines. But we will never do a dangerous goods product ever again. So if we can be selling or sending out 80% of our parcels as non-DG parcels, then we can save freight like considerably.
Yes. And just complexity as well.
Yeah.
What does success look like to you?
Becoming a founder.
Yeah, good.
I would love to put in a managing director or a CEO.
Yeah.
And not have to answer to anybody, and just be there for like the fun bits, which are the creative bits.
You think you'll get to a size where you will do that? Put someone in place to run the day-to-day?
I'm really aiming for 2 options. Like, it's so up in the air with COVID, but either I would love to sell. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I would love to sell is because there aren't very many businesses like us in the beauty space that are ethical, vegan, cruelty-free, carbon neutral, all of that. And I think that really appeals to Gen Z now, because they are such a huge part of the spending.
I assume you know Fauna, because I'm interviewing Julie next week, actually.
Yeah, they're amazing. She's got an amazing business, one of our customers.
I think they're
one of our only customers that we decided to retain. So we love them.
Great.
And so, I want to sell the business so that it can go global. Mm-hmm. And really be a leader, because I don't think I've got the skills to take it global, or have it be running so profitably that we can afford a GM or a CEO.
Yeah. Great. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Oh, I've got 2 things. Can I say 2? Yeah. One is Instagram. So when I started our Instagram, there was absolutely no strategy to it at all. It was just a place for us to put pretty pictures, and we don't see huge revenue from that stream. But every single premium department store in the world that we have got into has found us on Instagram.
Wow.
So I think that Instagram is the key selling channel for us, even if we can't measure the sales that are coming from there that accurately. It's definitely the best thing for us brand positioning wise. And then the second thing is around Facebook ads. And we've only really got our Facebook ad strategy up and running recently, but we had been doing Facebook ads for about 2 years. And as a small business, I was always worried about spending $5,000 a month on Facebook ads because it was just too much money to be losing if it didn't work.
Yeah.
And we started with a small agency who was a one-man band, and he was double counting all of our revenue from Facebook. It was like he had 2 pixels set up or something, and there was a mistake in his reporting.
No. Jeez.
So we thought we were like profitable, but we weren't on his running with his ad strategy. And then I was introduced to this absolute gun of a Facebook marketer who was brought over to Australia by a friend of mine through EO from Russia.
Yep.
And all he did was Facebook.
Yeah.
So he helped us set up a really incredible strategy, which was very detailed and quite in depth. And now we can spend, $50,000 a month on Facebook ads, and they're profitable, and we can track it properly.
Yeah, that's great.
So I guess my advice is like, don't waste time if you're not going to do it properly. It's taken us 2 years, and I reckon if we had just got it right from the start with people who actually know what they're doing, then we would have been in a completely different position to what we are now.
Yep. You keeping your Facebook consultant fully busy, or did you want to give a shout out if he needs any more work? Because I'm sure there'll be people interested.
He's very busy, and we found it really difficult to get any time with him.
Yeah.
But so he was like the Facebook expert. The other person that we use now, who his name is Simon, and we brought him into the meetings with the Facebook expert whose name is Arné. Yep. Arné was so amazing that Facebook was contacting him asking how he would get his ads to perform as well as they did.
Oh, wow.
Tips, right? Yeah. And so I got Simon, he's from an agency called Harvey.
Yep.
And they're based in Melbourne, and he is a real gem. Man, I wouldn't recommend very many people, but Simon from Harvey is one of my number one. He's my favorite person. And he sat in on all of the strategy meetings with Arné. So now we've got our funnel built, and he's amazing at every time he learns something great, he shares it with the other businesses that he does work with.
Yep.
So I'd be really happy to recommend him, knowing that he's got all that teaching from Arné to help people out.
So Arné does the strategy, but Simon executes it pretty much.
Yeah, well, Simon is very strategic. He is numbers, like his core skill set is data, right? So he can analyze everything. And Arné was just a really specific Facebook ads person. So he's taught Simon the strategy. It's not like Simon's just executing it. We pretty much do the execution on the ads, but Simon is amazing at helping us manage our other partners. We've just had an issue with our Google Ads agency where they have been counting, or the way that they've been doing the reporting is making their numbers look really favorable. Mm-hmm. And so we get Simon to sit in and analyze nearly every single person that we work with outsourced make sure that they are reporting what, they are doing what they say they're doing.
Yep.
So that's what we see the real value with Simon is that he just like helps us make sure that we're not being lied to.
Right. We'll link through to Simon's firm in the show notes, and I'm sure he's going to get quite a few emails or phone calls. It's such an important thing these days. Obviously, social marketing on social channels, it's just so powerful. So much data and great return on investment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about funding. How did you fund the growth? You had a bit of startup yourself?
I was working in retail, so I started with $50, and then I made some jewelry and sold it for $100, and then I spent that $100 on making jewelry, and I went and sold that for $200. So
great.
That's good.
Have you taken on any bank debt or investors to date?
Recently, I did a deal. This one's a great bit of learning for anybody who's looking at taking on investment. We decided that we did need to take on investment, and I started putting together the pitch deck, and then realized that taking on investment is a full-time job and that you can't run a company while you're also doing that. So we went to a friendly investor and we did a deal, and we did the deal really quickly. So it was like a $500,000 investment for X amount of shares, and I had the agreements all written up, but she actually did us a really big favor of transferring the money first, without all of the agreements signed. Yep. So 50% of the money got transferred because we didn't need to call all of it straight away. Mm-hmm. And then we spent that money on product last year, which was all of the lipsticks that we bought, because our manufacturers in Europe are, 10,000 units a colour kind of people. And then we decided, because of the international move, that we would wait to issue the shares in the company and we would just start afresh. We wouldn't issue new shares. We would just split the shares in the new company.
Mm-hmm.
And then over that time, the investor had time to think about the deal, and she thought that the deal wasn't that good, or that our company wasn't worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so she renegotiated the terms of the deal, even though we had the verbal agreement and et cetera, et cetera.
So what, turned it into a loan or a convertible note?
Yeah, I turned down her new proposed valuation of our business, because it was about 3 times less than what I believe our business is valued at.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I will pay it back as a loan.
Yep.
So
she was fine with that?
Yeah, she suggested that. So that was the out that I took.
Yep.
It's then really difficult to negotiate loan terms, right? Because when did that investment deposit become a loan?
Yeah.
And all of the advice that I've got is, well, it becomes a loan when it becomes a loan. So like from the day that we agreed it was a loan.
Yeah.
So that meant that even though she had transferred the money last year, we didn't agree that it was a loan until last month, August, right?
So there's a bit of exposure there, is there?
There's exposure. Well, there was exposure for her just because we couldn't. Well, I wasn't willing to backdate interest payments.
Mm-hmm.
I was only willing to pay interest from the date that turned into a loan.
Yep.
So that just became really awkward, because we had to have those really hard conversations around that. And of course, then it threw us into $250,000 debt that we didn't want to be in an economic downturn.
Yep.
And so finding that money from elsewhere to pay her back has been my main focus, and it's taken a lot of time and energy. So next time round, I would never take the money from somebody without signing the agreement first.
Yep. Very good advice, Anna.
And I just thought that didn't apply when it was a really friendly investor. Do you know what I mean? But it's more important when it's in friendly investor.
I agree, totally. The 3 F's, friends, family, and fools. Definitely ensure you got legal agreements in place, even if you think they're friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any government grants?
Yeah, we use EMDG a lot, actually.
Yep.
So the answer to investment is no, not yet. And we will at some point when we can really prove that we are economic proof.
Got it.
And we use EMDG a lot, and every year, or this year, we got around almost $100,000 back from MDG, which was really good.
Yep.
So that means that we get 50% back for every trip that we would take to Europe.
Right.
And we lump in a lot of things when we go to Europe, because our manufacturers are there.
Yep.
We've got a lot of customers there. We've got 3PLs there. And then we do lots of marketing, like trade fairs and events and things. And then only really the Melbourne grants from COVID.
Yeah.
So they're the 2 main streams of revenue coming in.
What about R&D grants?
No, because beauty works in a slightly different way, where the R&D is all done for free by the manufacturers.
Yep.
So R&D doesn't apply to us right at the moment. But if we ever get into skincare, then we would claim that.
And what about the federal export loan scheme? Have you looked at that?
Never. No.
Jot that one down.
Is it a loan?
It's a loan, 6 or 9 months. It's basically bridging finance to help with your working capital needs when you're exporting. So they give you finance. So that could be a good option.
What's it called?
I think just Google Federal Government Export Loan Scheme, something like that. I've got a link. I'll send it through to you after this if you can't find it.
Because that federal government export loan scheme is quite an interesting one that I hadn't looked into, but now I will, because for our manufacturers working in New Zealand and Australia, it doesn't really matter where we are, because we're just way down south and they're the same country, aren't they?
That's right.
To Europeans, I don't think they know the difference. We have to pay, and we have to order in large volume quantities, like between 5 and 10,000 units of colour plus.
Yep.
And we work with the biggest nail polish manufacturer in the world, who their standard run is 1 million units per shade.
Yep.
And because we have to order in large quantities, we're ordering lots more stock. So it might be 6 months worth of stock or 3 months worth of stock. And we have to pay 100% before it's shipped. And then it goes sea freight, which is like a 3-month turnaround before we can even start selling.
Yeah, I think definitely give them a call and have a look. Yeah.
Cool.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry? I think I know the answer to this one.
I did.
Yeah.
So I started a startup.
Yep.
Another startup with a business partner, and we went into beauty.
Yep.
And we had money to start. There are things that I would do differently. Mm-hmm. Don't do dangerous goods products.
Yep.
Skincare is a winner. I think I would probably go into premium skincare, which is exactly what the startup that we did is.
As in, you've just started that new startup recently?
Yeah, it's called Arné Skincare. It's not currently operating, but we are sort of in the final stages of getting it all together. And then, of course, COVID happened. So we're just sort of reassessing things at the moment. But yes, if I could do it all again, it would definitely be beauty. It would be a more consumable item. It wouldn't be dangerous goods. And we would try and get it into Mecca straight away.
Yep, got it. What's been the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so far?
The day that I found out what a dangerous good was.
Yeah.
It was probably about 3 years into my business.
Yeah, right.
And we'd been shipping the stuff like everywhere through Australia only.
Yep.
But and it was getting smashed in the post, and it, like, nail polish when it's open stinks.
Yeah. And
I got a parcel back from Australia Post, and they said, "Did you know that nail polish is dangerous goods and it cannot be shipped through the post?" And I thought, what?
Oh no.
I built my whole business around this product. It's the only product we sell, and now you're saying that we can't ship it. So I actually started looking into it, and you can go to prison for a very long time by shipping nail polish through the post.
Wow.
Without a dangerous goods license. And so I went to get the dangerous goods license, and it took me 7 months to get it because it was so complex. Jeez. You have to learn how to ship radioactive material, biohazards, explosives, flammables, like radioactive, just all the stuff that's crazy that you would never ship if you were a normal person.
Okay. Well, the next
nail polish.
Yeah. Well, the next question, apart from dangerous goods, what area in business do you feel you had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Finance. Mm-hmm. I have done I don't know if most people do this, but when we went to get our bookkeeper, I said, like I said, I need a bookkeeper, but I don't want you to do any of the work. I just want you to teach me how to do it.
Right.
So we have a bookkeeper now, but I did all of our own books for the first 6 years, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I checked them every day and I reconciled every day. So probably a bit of waste of my time. But I really need to have a really good handle on what the finance is doing in the business to understand it.
Yeah.
And then we got a bookkeeper on about 3 years ago. And they didn't like that I was in the accounts as well. And they wanted to do it all. So they started doing all of the reconciling, and I wasn't allowed to. They literally banned me from going in there for about
Are they still there now?
No. Because I can't, as a business owner, be removed from looking at the finances. And I really need to look at them every day because we're small and we're like not uber profitable. We don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in accounts everywhere, you know?
Yep.
So that just didn't work for me, but I have had to get a real handle on what exactly the finances mean and exactly what I'm supposed to be looking at when I'm looking at them. And I think that was probably one of the most interesting, but one of the hardest and most important things that I've had to upskill in.
Yeah, great. And what have you enjoyed the least about managing the fast growth?
Managing people. It's not my forte. And I have an expectation that everybody that I hire is going to be like me. Not with the same skill sets, right? But like overachiever, really driven to succeed, hardworking, And what I found is there's not that many people that are like that.
No, those people are called employees. They're not called business owners or entrepreneurs. I had this conversation with a good friend of mine recently. Yeah, she had the same mindset. And I said, that's just not how it works. We're entrepreneurs and business owners. We take risks. They don't want risks. They just want a paycheck. They want to turn up to work and have structure and.
Yeah. And it's taken me a really long time to understand that, because I just thought I was picking people that, like, I was employing people that didn't have the skills, like I was unlucky.
Yeah.
But then what I've realized over those years is that, like, that's what employees are.
Yes.
Right? And all those people that I thought were bad, they were just employees. They weren't bad.
Yep.
They just needed managers, and I wasn't a manager because I just expected them all to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah. No, I think I had that mindset early on in my business career as well. It took me a long time to learn the truth.
Yeah.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Doing lots of different varied tasks, because I don't like to be pigeonholed to just do one job.
Yep.
And I really like the flexibility to work on the go. Not many jobs would let you just go to Europe for 6 weeks and just do work while you're there, or get as much done as you can. Yeah. And we certainly wouldn't be allowed to go skiing every morning and then work in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's great.
So I love the flexibility of time management, and I really like just all of the varied different things that I do, because I really enjoy all different aspects of business.
Yep. What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
It would have to be, don't trust others. There's a reason why. More like, for example, don't ask your accountant about how to run a business, because they don't know. They're accountants.
Yes. Yeah. I see what you mean.
So I got really confused with, well, if you paid somebody lots of money, then they must know lots of stuff about business, and that they must know lots about your business.
Yep.
But actually, like, I was asking all the wrong questions and getting all these very expensive experts to do all the wrong things. And what I needed to do was just do what I was doing in the first place, and then pay the money for people who are really good at what they do. So pay my accountant money to do my accounts really well, but don't take business advice from them.
What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Looking at your finances every day, even if you're not doing them and you've got a bookkeeper, like understanding how to read the P&L and the balance sheet, and check in with it every day.
Yeah, great.
I have met some really interesting people that own huge businesses, like turning over millions and millions of dollars, who don't know how to read a Xero file because they had such big management teams reporting to them.
Yep.
So when starting small businesses, that's really difficult.
They're lost. Yeah. Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success. Then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com. Can you talk about how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
People is so hard. We used to do, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in hiring staff is with the mindset of not paying much.
Yep.
And getting people who were underskilled, didn't have any experience, and then I would train them. Not that I'm a marketing expert, but whatever, I'd give it a go. So pay them peanuts and then train them with the expertise that I have. So we never excelled, because nobody in the business even knew more than what I did.
I love that saying, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Yeah. So now when we're hiring, that can go on the flip side as well. Like, then we paid a lot of money to somebody to do marketing, for example, and they actually didn't have organizational skills, or so what we ended up paying them was way too much for what they ended up doing. And so now when we're looking, what I will do is just pick a market rate and then find people that really want to work for my business, because we used to talk people into coming to work for us.
Yep.
But actually, I shouldn't have hired any of those people that I had to talk into it, because they should have wanted to work for my business.
Yeah.
we're a pretty awesome brand doing really interesting things in the ethical beauty space. So there shouldn't be a shortage of people wanting to come and work.
That's right. Find the people that are not only smart and have some skills in that corner of the business, but also passionate for your brand and business and align with your core values. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some things you'd recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth? I know there's only 3 of you now, but...
This is an interesting answer to that question, but one of the things that I would not do is try to please the staff. Yep. We had ran into a really problematic time when we were giving the staff lots of perks.
Yep.
So it was like pick your own hours, work 4 days a week, bring your dog to work. And we used to do really nice things for our staff. Like if it was their birthday, we'd send them to Dalesford for the weekend, for example. Mm-hmm. And we treated them so well that they became spoiled children.
Right.
And we couldn't then, so we pretty much do no overtime, right? We should be organised enough to get everything that we need to do done during the day. But if there was ever, and I remember once, like there was it was 2 days that we needed people to stay back and help us out at Christmas, packing orders. Mm-hmm. And we could not get any of our staff to do it because they were like, and people that doesn't build good culture. Like treating your staff well, this might sound crazy, treating your staff really well doesn't build good culture. Just like saying thank you and having great manners builds culture, not perks, not staff perks.
Yep.
So I found that unbelievable. Like I couldn't understand, like somebody left the business and I was like, what? Why would they leave the business? Yeah. Like they did everything.
Yep.
And it wasn't, they didn't leave because of the culture. It was like they left because they thought that the grass was greener on the other side.
Yep.
And 3 or 4 of the staff that have left have come back to me and said, I should never have left the job with you.
Right.
So now we don't do perks, which is kind of an interesting way to think about it. And culture, we just get smart people who get it now. Like I have made errors in hiring people that needed lots of hugs and pillows and soft kisses,
Yep.
And now I want straight shooting people who get business objectives and can just do their jobs and don't need to be spoken to and encouraged a lot. It's not like we speak to our staff badly, but we're always very direct and like we're here to make a profit. So
yeah, that's good. I think you just got to hire for your culture, like what you expect your team, how they should work, etc., what pace, and it sounds like for you it's smart high performers that are self-motivated. That's the kind of people
That's exactly it.
Yep. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
I meditate a shitload. Right. So we meditate for an hour every morning, and what I've understood is you can get balance, but the balance that I'm going for is work like really, really hard now and then get the perks of a possible sale or profitability down the track.
Yep.
So I used to think about this thing of balance, but what I've realized is it's sort of rubbish. Yep. It's like a mindset, and I'm lucky because I really like my job. I mean, I guess balance is important if you hate your job and you've got to balance out that stressful time. But the only thing that I think of when I think of balance is making sure you're in a healthy, happy state. And we minimize stress by meditating. It just does so much wonders. And it actually means that I'm more profitable and productive during the time that I am working.
Yeah, great. How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
A lot. And probably a lot of that added to the confusion.
Yep.
So, I would have maybe changed a few of those things, but the most important part of my investment was really understanding myself and how people perceived me.
Yep.
And that was through doing the Mesquite and the LSI testing tools.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Really interesting psychological evaluations for managers and things like that.
Yeah. Good. And what about
just on that?
Yeah.
I just want to add, the other thing that we use in the business is an app called Crystal Knows. And Crystal Knows is like the AI tool That's free. And if you just download it as a Chrome extension, what you can do, and I've used it quite a few times when hiring staff, is literally just go to their LinkedIn profile, click Crystal Knows, and Crystal Knows downloads this personality report.
Wow.
And it also gives their personality traits in line with yours. So you can do the questionnaire, you get your own one, and then I could just apply it. And I did a really funny test where I applied it to 2 people who were looking at hiring, and they were perfect fits for our culture and team. And then for 3 people that we had hired in the past, and they were just like complete opposites. And
So it's pretty accurate.
It's like a free tool, and you just sign up to their emails, and they send you an email every month. Really interesting stuff on how to manage people, how to interview for job positions, all those sorts of things. So one of my favorite apps out there.
We'll link that in the show notes. What about mentors or coaches? Have you had any along the way?
I have, but I find that mentors and coaches, you don't want to like get a mentor and have to pay them, or get a coach and pay them anything. The best mentorship that I've had is from peers. You know, like us chatting, and I'll go, have you tried this Shopify plugin? And then you go, oh my God, we've seen 30% growth with it. So it's actually like tips and tricks from people who are in similar kinds of businesses. Yeah. And I think that's the most valuable kind of mentorship to me.
Peer mentoring. Yeah. Great. Do you have a board of directors or advisors at the moment?
No, we've been trying to set it up for years, but we really can't afford the extra, I don't know, $100,000 that it would cost to do it.
So we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Staff.
Yeah, same. Any great podcasts or online learning tools for professional development? You've just mentioned a great one.
Yeah, only that Crystal Knows is one of my favorites.
Yep.
And then podcasts. I don't listen to a lot, but I have listened to How I Built This. And
that's a great one.
Yeah, I found that like they give really accurate sort of stories as to how people did it. And I loved the one by the woman who started Dermatologica, because it's related specifically to my industry. And she worked on that business for 20 years while it was kind of like a fuddy-duddy brand, and then just had this massive exit at the end. So when you see businesses having these massive exits all the time, it's kind of like hard to watch, and you get really disillusioned with all these people that are just lucky, but actually just they're not.
Yep. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
To help grow a small business? Shopify.
Yeah, it's a great platform, isn't it?
Yeah, I love their analytics as well. So it's probably my favorite thing that we use. And actually, I have been really getting into Asana lately. I really enjoy Asana.
Yeah. And final question, what would you tell yourself on day 1 of starting out?
Don't do it.
That's not true.
I think that's probably not what I would tell myself. Yeah. It would be like if I knew what I knew now and I went back then, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like maybe the answer to that is just do it, because if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have done it. And then I would never have known.
Yeah, got it. And back to the favourite business book.
I think the E-Myth is one that I really enjoyed. And the main takeaway that I got from the E-Myth was set up your business like a franchise.
Agree.
So just systemize everything.
Yeah, totally agree. That's my favourite book as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time today, Anna. I think the audience will get a shit ton of value out of that and really enjoy your journey. Congratulations on the success and a very windy path to where you are now. But
no, it's pretty wild.
You've learned a lot, I think, and it sounds like it's only got a lot of success ahead of it. So well done.
Thanks so much, Troy. Nice to speak to you.
Same here. That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.